All right, let's bring in trial attorney and legal analyst, Misty Marris. Misty, great to see you. So now we hear that the Innocence Project is taking this case. We know Peterson has already had a few appeal hearings already. They did not go in his favor. Is this a long shot?
So this is actually a different legal theory than his prior appeal. If you recall, this was 2022, so it's pretty recent. His appeal was denied based on allegations of juror misconduct. The judge ultimately upheld his conviction. He's spending life in prison. Now, this is a totally different legal theory based on newly discovered evidence. And whether or not it's a long shot or something that will ultimately happen and Scott Peterson will get a new trial really depends on the nature of that evidence and how dispositive it is. So from the point of view of the appellate court, not only is there new evidence presented, that doesn't automatically get a new trial. That evidence also has to be strong enough that it could have changed the outcome had it been presented to the jury. So it really depends on exactly what it is. And what I find so interesting, and Laura's reporting is so excellent and on point, is that a lot of what the Innocence Project is looking at least from the filing, they reference new evidence. But then they talk about DNA testing of evidence we've already heard about, that was already presented in the trial, or that we've already seen being in contention at the time. So only time will tell how this really plays out.
All right. So, Misty, you talk about the Innocence Project referencing this DNA evidence being tested. We just heard from Laura there. There's this theory the family believes of burglars possibly breaking in. There's also a theory of a possible satanic cult being responsible for the horrific crime. Is it possible that either of these theories is what the Innocence Project is looking into?
It really looks from this filing, and I really went through it with a fine-tooth comb. There's a lot of focus on the theory, which is a long-standing theory presented by Scott Peterson's defense, that Laci Peterson witnessed a burglary that occurred across the street and that those burglars ultimately kidnapped and killed her. Now, what had been discovered was a van that was set on fire. The Innocence Project, in their filing, and that was across the street from the home, and in their filing, they say they want to test a mattress that was found in that van that had bloodstains, and they're looking for DNA that could potentially match Laci Peterson. That seems to be a primary focus, and the Innocence Project often focuses on DNA testing because this is a 2002 case. It has been just so much tremendous movement in DNA testing and its accuracy since then. So I do think that focus is going to be on DNA. That's what I'm gleaning from reading the filing. And it does seem that that legal theory, or that theory presented by the defense, is a primary focus of the Innocence Project. So whether or not they have something new relating to that, well, that could be something that tips the scales. But again, it has to be something that would really have moved the needle with the jury had it been presented to the jury.
You know, and Missy, I think it's fair to say, I mean, the Innocence Project does have a good reputation. However, also important to ask, have they always been right?
They tout a very, very good record of about 50% success rates, a little less than 50% success rate. So it's not always once they become involved, automatically these cases are reopened and they go to another trial. So it really, really is fact specific on each individual case. And many of the cases that have been successful do relate to new technology with DNA. However, a lot of what we're hearing about, at least from this filing, there are already theories that have been presented. Just because there's new DNA that's found at the crime scene, that's not dispositive as to whether or not Scott Peterson was the one who committed the crime. So in this particular case, even if there's some sort of movement on DNA, there's something new, that's not enough necessarily to overturn the verdict and have a new trial.
Yeah, we'll certainly see what happens. Great conversation as always. Misty, thank you.
Thank you.